This is definitely an exciting moment for countless Marvel fans. Iron Man, Hulk, Thor, Captain America, Black Widow, and Hawkeye are all gathered on the streets of New York. Are they going to play a 6-person card game or have a team-building dinner? However, that's not the case. They're here to fend off an external invasion. It all starts with Loki, who fell into the cosmic abyss. At the end of Thor 1, Loki, not receiving his father's approval, let go and fell into the abyss. But he didn't die. He was saved by an alien race called the Chitauri. The Chitauri leader saw Loki's ambition to rule the world and gave him a scepter. The scepter not only helps him control human minds but also aids in his plan to rule Earth. Why rule Earth? The alien race wants Loki to help him obtain the Tesseract. The Tesseract is currently in Shield's hands. During their research, they discovered its energy was increasing. Before Fury and Hawkeye could figure out the situation, a blue light shot forward, opening a portal. Loki, the god of mischief, appeared and attacked without hesitation, easily defeating everyone present. Even Hawkeye was no match and was controlled by Loki's scepter, as was Dr. Eric. Fury, seeing the situation worsen, tried to escape with the Tesseract but was shot by Hawkeye, allowing Loki to take it. Fury immediately informed Agent Hill and pursued in a helicopter, but was overpowered and shot down by Loki. Realizing a great disaster was coming, the Avengers initiative was officially launched. He then had Coulson contact Black Widow, who was interrogating 3 men. During the interrogation, she received a call from Coulson. Black Widow was unhappy, but upon learning Hawkeye was controlled by Loki, she switched to battle mode. Even with her hands and feet tied, she easily defeated the 3 men. With a deadly scissor kick, she took out the last enemy, picked up the phone, and put on her heels to receive the next instruction. Following Coulson's orders, she went to a Brazilian slum to find Dr. Banner. After understanding the situation, Banner didn't want to get involved. Black Widow, though calm on the outside, was internally furious. At this moment, Captain America is still haunted by the shadows of World War II, punching the sandbag when Fury finds him, hoping he will join the Avengers to save the world. He agrees because of the Tesseract. Meanwhile, Tony gets a call from Coulson, and before he can refuse, Coulson arrives with the files. Tony immediately senses trouble. On the other side, the controlled Dr. Eric and Barton find the materials to activate the Tesseract. Loki, dressed sharply, appears at a gala, knocks out a guard, and forces the doctor onto a table. Using an eye scan, they open the vault and get the materials. The crowd flees and Loki reveals his true form, using illusions to trap them. Enjoying his power, a man steps up, saying he's seen it all in 10th grade, dismissing Loki. Loki plans to make an example, but Captain America arrives just in time to block the attack. He throws his shield, but after 70 years without combat, he's a bit rusty. Luckily, Tony arrives, blasting Loki away, warning him not to move or he'll destroy his horns. Loki surrenders. On the way to S.H.I.E.L.D., Tony and Captain America argue. If they fought, who would you support? Suddenly, thunder strikes, and Loki is terrified. Thor descends, knocks Tony aside, and takes Loki away. At this moment, Thor still tries to convince Loki to return to Asgard. But Loki doesn't want to go back to a place where he's not accepted. The two, who have never met, immediately clash. Thor uses his thunder power, instantly striking down his opponent. Just as the two were locked in battle, Cap's shield flew in to separate them. Learning they both aimed to stop Loki's scheme, Thor officially joined the team. Loki was locked in a special cage by Fury, but it was all part of Loki's plan. He hinted that the cage was meant for the Hulk. As Fury was unsure what to do, Loki asked again, "What do you really want with the Tesseract?" This question raised suspicions among the Avengers. To uncover the truth, Tony had Jarvis hack into S.H.I.E.L.D.'s system, while Cap sneaked into a secret warehouse and found a stash of superweapons. Tony also discovered S.H.I.E.L.D.'s secret of using the Tesseract to make weapons. Realizing he couldn't hide it anymore, Fury confessed. Since the last time a guy with a hammer came to Earth and a town was shielded due to personal grudges, Fury realized threats to humanity were no longer confined to Earth, so they began developing superweapons with the Tesseract. Even Banner accidentally picked up the Mind Scepter. Just then, Hawkeye, under Loki's control, appeared outside the ship and shot an arrow that changed the situation. If anyone could lift Thor's hammer, it should be Hulk, but actually, Hawkeye, under Loki's control, aimed and shot precisely, destroying the ship's third engine and causing it to lose power. Everyone inside was blown away. Tony and Cap rushed to fix it. Banner, triggered by the explosion, turned into Hulk and chased Black Widow. Luckily, Thor arrived in time to divert Hulk's attention. Hulk punched Thor away, but Thor fought back, swinging his hammer at Hulk's face. If this continued, the ship would be doomed. Fury immediately ordered firepower to contain Hulk. A jet targeted Hulk, but they underestimated his jump. Hulk leapt into the air, destroying it with his bare hands. Fortunately, the pilot escaped safely, and Hulk fell to the ground. Hawkeye sneaked into the cockpit and fired a precise shot, stopping the engine. After Tony fixed the circuit board, the ship began to tilt. Tony quickly entered the propeller to boost it. After regaining speed, he had each team pull the lever, but they were like clay Buddhas and their own fruit, so Tony felt the prickly pear sand. Went to Loki's cell, not expecting Loki to use a clone trick to trap Thor in a cage. But Coulson came with a weapon aimed at Loki and warned him to behave. Loki used his clone again to sneak attack from behind. Then Loki pressed a switch, and Thor, with the cage, fell from the sky. Just before landing, Thor kicked out, breaking through the wheel, flying out. Meanwhile, Black Widow met Hawkeye on the ship in close combat. In this, Black Widow naturally had the upper hand. After a fight, Hawkeye gradually regained consciousness, while the cunning Loki had already escaped the ship. Coulson's sacrifice was a heavy blow to everyone, even the always arrogant Tony. Even Tony was deep in thought. Banner and Thor also vanished. The Avengers had just formed and were already facing disbandment. Just when they were lost, Tony realized that to open the Tesseract, a powerful energy source was needed, and the strongest energy in the city was Stark Tower. So Tony returned to the top of Stark Tower and noticed Loki nearby. This was definitely Tony's coolest transformation. Yet, moments ago, Tony, in the Mark 6, arrived at Stark Tower. Although Jarvis cut off the energy source, the Tesseract kept operating. Tony tried to destroy the Tesseract but was bounced away by the reflected energy. He also noticed Loki nearby. Then Tony took off his armor, preparing to deal with Loki. As Tony walked backward, he discreetly put on the Mark 7 wristbands. Loki tried to control Tony, but an awkward scene unfolded. Could it be that even gods make mistakes? In anger, Loki threw Tony out, but Mark 7 burst in, making a grand entrance. Just before hitting the ground, Tony did a graceful move back to the rooftop. Meanwhile, the Tesseract was fully charged, and disaster was just starting. A huge blue beam shot up, reopening the portal. The Chitauri army poured out like locusts. Tony switched to battle mode, but there were too many enemies, bombing the city. Cars didn't matter as people fled in panic. Thor arrived to confront Loki, while Hawkeye flew in to help Tony. He then turned to support Thor but was shot down by Loki, crash landing in New York. Even now, Thor tried to persuade Loki. Loki, lay down your arms and turn back, but instead of appreciating it, Loki stabbed Thor. Despite being wounded, Thor fought back with punches and kicks. Loki couldn't match Thor and rolled away to escape. Captain America and his team arrived on the street, and when they looked up, they saw the Chitauri's massive warship descending. The ship was flanked by countless soldiers. Without much talk, the three entered battle mode. I focused on offense, Hawkeye rescued civilians, and Captain America coordinated with the local police. This time, Thor was also on the scene. Tony used his firepower to draw the warship's attention. Banner arrived on a Harley, and the 6 superheroes were finally assembled. What followed was a world-class battle. This was probably the Hulk at his strongest. Tony led the Chitauri warship to the ground. Then comes Hulk's big moment. With one punch, he takes down the alien ship. Tony seizes the moment and fires a missile to destroy it. This is the Avengers' first team battle. With Loki's command, the Chitauri ships all mobilized. Everyone immediately goes into battle mode. Varden stands high, observing the entire battlefield. Tony draws the minions, moving the fight to an empty area. Thor flies to a high point, unleashing lightning to shatter the darkness. Cap and Black Widow, who can't fly, hold the ground. As for Hulk, wow, Hulk goes berserk, taking out enemies with one punch each. After several rounds, Black Widow realizes the fight won't end unless the Tesseract is shut down. With Cap's help, she leaps onto the enemy ship, steering it towards Stark Tower, but Loki intercepts her. Varden, confident, shoots an arrow. Tony, while distracting minions, returns to the ground to team up with Cap, then flies back up to continue the fight. Hulk and Thor unleash chaos on the enemy ship, successfully taking one down. But Hulk seems unimpressed with Thor, punching him away. Next, it's time to find Loki, but just as he moves, Loki stops him. This leaves Loki with quite a psychological scar. Meanwhile, Tony activates the repulsor, piercing through the enemy's ranks. Tony exhausts his energy, and a weary Tony is quickly surrounded by minions. Varden runs out of arrows. Hulk faces a swarm of minions on the rooftop. Cap and Thor are also surrounded. The situation was dire, but luckily, Dr. Eric woke up. He told Black Widow that Loki's scepter could shut down the Tesseract. Just as she was about to do it, Tony stopped her. It turned out that to destroy the alien ship, military officers launched a nuclear missile at the city, ignoring SHIELD's objections. If it exploded, the city would be shielded by Eva. Fury told Tony, who then broke away from the soldiers to intercept the missile. With only a minute left, Tony, risking his life, decided to send the missile through the portal. Though he knew it might be a one-way trip, he wasn't afraid. Maybe this is what it means to stand with gods as a mortal. Tony destroyed the Chitauri's base, but his energy was gone. As the base exploded, the Chitauri army was defeated. Everyone watched the portal, but Tony didn't appear. To consider the bigger picture, Captain America had Black Widow close the Tesseract. Just before the portal closed, Tony fell out, but his suit was out of power and falling fast. Thor wanted to save him, but Hulk made a big leap and saved Tony. Tony was unconscious. Just when everyone thought he was gone, Hulk roared. In the end, Loki was captured and taken back to Asgard by Thor. The heroes returned to their normal lives. That's the end of today's story. See you next time.